Today I'm joined by Joss Clark. Joss is the owner and managing director of Verbacom, the leading audio-visual services provider for businesses, hotels and universities in the United Kingdom. So welcome, Joss.
Hi, Simon.
Hi, how are you doing today? You okay?
Yeah, very well, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for asking, Joss. So just tell us a little bit more about Verbacom.
So Verbacom is a design and build audio-visual integrator. We within that category, we touch on control systems and lighting systems as well. And then we provide those solutions into either commercial buildings, leisure and hospitality, to provide the end client with a system that meets their needs and exceeds their needs, whether that's for entertainment purposes, for productivity purposes, or even advertising purposes.
Excellent, thank you, Joss. So, so does that mean you sort of like you go in and speak to these sort of businesses, hotels, universities, and sort of say, okay, well, what is it that you want to achieve from your audio visual system? What is it that you're looking to the results that you're looking for, and then you help them to design, and then you install the system that meets those needs. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah, so taking a hotel as an example out, we meet with the hotel management, either locally or as a group, and there'll be certain needs they're looking for. Typically, we would focus around a guest room management system. Okay. That'll bring in both TV, environment controls within the room, interfacing into other building systems. And there's certain goals there, whether you're in a hotel environment using that technology to upsell services or make those services more accessible for their guests. Whether you're trying to save energy and manage guest room systems, so lighting and aircon, for instance, when a guest checks in or checks out, you may want to control all of that through your management system. And thinking of a hotel, if you've got 400 rooms, 500 rooms in the UK, abroad you've got slightly bigger estates. Managing that centrally becomes a lot more of an important process, and as a hotelier, you get real operational savings by being able to do that. Then you bring in entertainment in terms of IPTV, the services in the room. That's kind of more enhancing that guest experience, leaving the guest with a better holistic time, if you like, within the hotel.
Right. Okay. No, thank you for explaining that and adding some more detail. I appreciate it. So, so Joss, why did you decide to start your own business?
The starting point was I was in a job with a large enterprise style company, providing these services and solutions, and I was looking around thinking, am I going to be here? What is my future here within this company going forward? And is it what I want to be? If I look at my managers above, that's kind of, if you like, the career path. And it wasn't. You're in a 9-to-5 job. You're kind of stuck within a role, and you can't take. You can't take up on other opportunities that are coming up because you don't have the time, or you're blocked over here and can't easily, if another project comes up or something a lot more exciting, you kind of already subscribed yourself to that job role. And that's kind of where I found myself. There was things I wanted to do in one aspect, both work life, there's things I wanted to do personally and socially. And being in that type of job role did not provide the flexibility that having your own company does. Having said that, it's not as flexible as as you think on the outside, but you definitely retake your freedom in that sense to make your own decisions and choose your own path.
Thank you. And yeah, that's one of the main reasons that I find that business owners often start their own businesses, that search for, using that word that you said, freedom. The freedom to make your own decisions, the freedom to work the hours that you want to, or to take time off when you want to, or work on the projects that you want to, as you sort of said there. But and I mean, you briefly alluded to it there. Has being a business owner given you that freedom that you expected, that when you went into business?
I think overall, yes. There's certainly a lot of drawbacks compared to being employed, but being able to I say, balance your diary, balance your work life, and the opportunities that come about by just having that spare time to either take those opportunities or pass up on them. Being in employment, you don't even get to see or sniff those opportunities half the time. So, and it's taking those opportunities that come through, the risks and the benefits for it, that then provide, the other freedoms down the line. Whether that's international work or whether that's long stay projects in the UK or anything like that, you get to then balance your own freedoms, if you like, around that.
As you said, it gives you that opportunity to make your own choices. Whereas perhaps if you're in a job, you don't have that freedom to do that. And you mentioned,
I think in a job, you've got different priorities in a job, and you're part of a cog to work for the company and provide the company benefits. The aspect I'm in at the moment is I'm a cog working for benefits for my life, if you like, and my livelihood outwards of that. And it's up to me of whether I decide what we want to do, how far we want to go with it, how much time we put into certain aspects. And then the benefits of that I actually see, rather than maybe a pizza party or something, enterprise style company. So
it's interesting because we refer to ourselves as business owners, but actually most business owners have got two primary roles. One is actually owning the business, and the other one is working in the business. By the way, working in the business also creates a number of roles in itself. But actually, being a business owner doesn't necessarily mean that you work in the business. I arguably own, or part own, a number of businesses, because I've got shares in companies that are quoted on the stock exchange. But I don't turn up there every morning going, "Hi, I'm one of your business owners. Can I come and work here?" It's two separate things, and we often combine the two things together, business owner and working in the business. But actually, they're two separate things, and I think it helps with business owners to think of those two things separately. Okay, I own the business. What roles do I want to do in the business? And then create a business that gives you that flexibility and freedom to either just be a business owner or be a business owner that does the roles that you want to do within the business and not necessarily have to do. I think that's perhaps the difference in terms of the roles you want to do and not necessarily the roles you have to get to. So I think that's a great bit of sharing that you've done there, Joss. So you mentioned about you said that being a business owner also has its drawbacks. What would you say those drawbacks are?
The good question, Simon. The drawbacks are you've got to be a lot more organized, and I say this is not necessarily a drawback actually, but you've got to be a lot more focused and organized on input and output, really, because at the end of the month, depending on how you pay yourselves and stuff from a company's point of view. But if what you've spent the month on hasn't generated, anything, you're then either burning into your own profits. We're a privately owned company, so we're only burning into our own pockets of the future. If we've wasted, a whole quarter talking about ideas or doing things rather than focusing on that output, that input results to that input results to that output, and that's the financial value of that. And it's kind of easy because lots of people come and it's quite easy to get distracted. Lots of people come with great ideas or concepts or things you should invest in, marketing strategies and sales strategies. And then there's all these kind of things that we've got to look at and evaluate ourselves, because ultimately we're being sold to from whoever's the provider of that. And it's making sure all of those decisions are either right, or you're keeping an eye on them and making sure you're not running away over here, and at the end of the day your pot's empty because you've been thinking about all this other stuff, investing in all these other processes that probably you should have just been working out what you were doing with them, just focusing on your work yourselves to generate your income. And I think that comes over with time. We've spent time doing that ourselves and learning the hard way or the expensive way with some of them. And I'm not saying they're all, some work and some don't. And I think it varies all with different industries and different products you're selling and different services. And it's making sure you're picking the right one out for your industry to make you stand out within your field, rather than either copying what everyone else in the industry might be doing, and then you're kind of lost in that voice as well. And that's a constant, balancing battle.
Yeah. So some interesting points there you mentioned, and some words that I picked up there that, and as you say, not necessarily drawbacks, but you sort of said, look, you've got to be organised, you've got to be focused, you've got to be good at making decisions, because those decisions can have a big impact on the business. But one thing in particular you mentioned there is the connection between the role or the job that you're doing and how that impacts the success of the company. It becomes very clear when you're the business owner and working in the business. You can see how direct that actually is. But actually, from my point of view, I think that should be the case for all businesses and all employees within the business. I believe that every employee should completely understand the connection between the work they're doing on a daily basis and how that impacts on the overall success of the business. Because it then creates that really great connection and people understand it. And it's interesting how that you say there that we do understand that more when we're in the position of being a business owner and working in our own business. So again, a really valid point that you've mentioned there, Josh. So
I think it's easy to when you're an employee, it's easy to forget you have that in the back of your mind, I think, while you're all there. But if you're one of 1,000 or one of 10,000, I think your approach kind of maybe slides down a bit, especially if especially if you're in a wider team, you're just coming in and doing your hours and leaving, which is fine for a lot of big companies, but for us, we're only 3 years in as a small company. We need everyone to make sure what they're doing on a daily basis is resulting in something, and it's not they're here to just spend their time and earn a salary, because it won't last very long. We'll all be out of work. So
I agree. Okay. So what would you say the biggest challenges that you've faced since being a business owner?
I say we're sort of bootstrapped, so we self-fund everything, and then everything we've reinvested has come from our, sales on projects. And, that's how we've then financed the next few years. That might change soon in terms of either getting investment or raising money from a bank, but that's definitely a challenge to start with. There's a lot of sacrifices, you've got to make in your personal life if you do it that way, whether you're taking a salary cut or whether you're taking a risk over so many months. And not everyone, I appreciate, not everyone can do that. But once you've got past that stage, once you're past that bridging, I think you get a lot of the upside thereafter. But it does take, I think, that jump to do so, and acknowledging that there will be sacrifices yourself. And it might not be the right time to do it for certain people, and they might put it off. But I think that's probably one of the harder things in terms of balancing the financials, both in the company and then your personal life, especially if you're used to a bigger salary or a monthly payment, your salary coming through, and whether that had a lot of benefits attached to it. You suddenly find yourself that it's down to you now. You're on your own, not in a bad way or a negative way, but before, if you were having a bad week or a bad couple of weeks, it wasn't such a big problem. Now, if you're having a bad week or a bad couple of weeks, you can see the problem in terms of the balance sheet.
Yeah, exactly. As a similar to what we were saying before, there's a real strong connection there, isn't there, between the as you say, the bad weeks that you might have had, or indeed the good weeks that you might have had, the profitability of the business, and then obviously linked into, okay, then what you as the owner of the business can take out of the business in terms of salary, dividends, however, whatever that may be. Okay, and what would you say the biggest challenge that you're currently facing is in your business, Josh?
One of the challenges we face is the way our projects run. We have a very high ticket item and service, and we have elongated payment terms or payment windows with customers. So we could be delivering goods to site that we've either bought or funded that are on site, and then we've got maybe even 30 to 60 day payments, some even longer, before that money comes back into the company. And it's balancing that between, within those 60 days, what other projects have we got going on? Where else do we need to fund? Where else are we locked up in credit in terms of trade supply accounts and stuff? And where can we balance that? And that is a tricky situation for us as we're growing. And that's part of the reason we're going to reach out to finance institutions to help with that invoice financing. But that is one of the areas where it stops, because we're, if you like, at our limits financially, and then we can't necessarily take on too much more work because we can't fund more work until we're paid 90 days down the line or 60 days down the line. And that's kind of our stopping point, which has kind of stopped us growing maybe in our earlier years, where we were focused on a couple of projects at a time, and we didn't take multiple projects. We weren't compounding like our labor and our services and everything together, and we were stretching things out. Whereas I think the next 2 to 3 years, we're in a different position. We spun that situation around, and we're able to really maximize, I think, the opportunities that come forward to us.
Yeah, and look, a fairly common challenge that a lot of businesses experience. So, thank you for sharing that one, because people watching this will hopefully relate to that. And it's the common name for that is the cash gap. You know, the gap between when you pay out for the materials, products, and the gap between when you get paid for those products or materials. And yeah, that, you know, in my, you know, before I do what I do now, I was in banking, and I saw a number of companies go bust, not because they didn't have a good product or service. They, you know, some of them had great products or services, but they didn't manage that cash gap. Because if you don't manage it, the gap can either get bigger, but as you alluded to there, as you grow, the cash gap can get deeper. You know, because of the amount that you're having to fund more projects and you're owed more money because you're doing so. It is, yeah, that's a key. I think that's a you know, a great bit of well, you've shared a challenge there, but actually shared a bit of advice as well, in which is, yeah, keep an eye on that cash gap and think about ways that you can manage that cash gap. And there are different ways of doing that. You've alluded to one there of, you know, invoice financing. So what would you say your biggest learning is since being in business, Joss?
The biggest is going to be around time management and making sure you're not wasting time. You know, lots of people will, as I alluded to before, lots of people have lots of products and services they want to sell, or lots of ideas they want to run through with you, and you can easily then go on, take that on, and go and spend a couple of days refining something. But it's kind of just keeping focused on the product you've got or the service you've got, our process model, and how we're going to sell that to the customer, making sure we're speaking to the customer who is a buyer, not just a customer that, not just a potential customer that likes the idea, but hasn't got either any money, or the organization hasn't got any money, or there's lots of other reasons why they can't buy from you, whether that's purchasing consortiums or whether that's contractual obligations with others. And there's lots of reasons around that. And you can spend time, and we've done so, lots of time chasing these organizations, and these certainly bigger organizations. And then it can either fall flat, or the expectation, everything that you've built up, it goes to a different department, and like, okay, we'll go out to a procurement process now. And it's like, well, you know, why do we spend all that time doing it? So we still take some of those opportunities on, just because we've got to be in the game for those larger opportunities. But again, a lot of our time now is focused on finding customers that are looking for the service, looking for the solution. They might not have the authority, you know, to place the order, but they have the authority within their company to go source, find, present, you know, a real strong influencer of that solution. And we want to work with them because they're the ones that are interested in buying as well. They're not just fulfilling an order from somewhere else or fulfilling something else within their customer. So it's those clients and customers that they generally get the best solution at the end of it, and the best service all round, compared to, you know, some of the other options, if you like, of how we're chasing down and really trying to upsell or sell a product that the person doesn't necessarily want to buy or doesn't understand. And it's just in a corporate circle, if you like, of going around, and you end up.
Yeah, look, again, you know, great bit of advice there in terms of, yeah, you know, getting as much clarity on you as you can on who's actually ready to buy, where they are in the sales process, but also the person that you're speaking to. You mentioned them, understanding who they are. Have they got the power to make the decision, to make the purchase? If not, who does make that? What do they need to have or know? And there's a lot of it. It's interesting. I help a lot of my clients with this type of thing. So ultimately, it comes down to what you said there, that actually you're investing your time in the opportunities that are more likely to come to fruition, rather than chasing the opportunities where you could just be used as a stalking horse because they already know who they're going to go with. They just want to measure the other party's price is there or thereabouts. And it's making sure, and I've gone to two extremes there, but it's making sure you know the difference between the two and identifying the difference between the two. So great bit of advice there, Joss. So look, I've got one final question for you, Joss. I tend to, I ask everybody that comes onto these interviews, and that is, what is the best advice that you would give to an 18-year-old you?
18-year-old me. Yeah, it's probably the best advice I'll give myself. Maybe even slow down, enjoy the process more. I'm in my early 30s now, so I'm talking about 14 years ago. And a lot of those years I can't really remember, maybe because I was either racing through, trying to, get above, get older, get more forward. Whereas I probably should have been enjoying the process a bit more of life, and not even of working, but just of life. Things have a way, or I think, of sorting themselves out as well in an element. So it's kind of, don't get too het up on things, especially when you're 18, because there's a lot of time ahead. But at the same time, it's not that much time unless you want to work till you're 68 or whatever retirement age is. Maybe speed it up in your 30s rather than when you're 18.
18, yeah. I like that advice, Josh, in terms of, we're often in a hurry to get to the next stage, right? To get to the next thing, rather than just enjoying where we are now. Then it reminds me of that, that saying, enjoy the journey, not just the destination. So I think that's a really good piece of advice. So thank you for sharing that, Josh. So, but Josh, I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today and sharing more about your business and also your journey. So thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks, Owen.